The wind howled across the barren plains of the distant planet. Crumbled towers and shattered buildings stretched as far as the eye could see. Humanity had not set foot here for centuries. The planet was marked on star charts as abandoned, a place where ancient civilizations had vanished. Yet a small team of explorers had arrived, drawn by strange energy readings that could not be explained. Captain Elias stared at the ruins from the edge of a jagged cliff. He felt a mixture of fear and excitement. The ruins were beautiful in their decay, with twisting metal spires and walls carved with symbols that seemed alive under the pale sunlight. He turned to his team. "Stay close," he said. "We don't know what we are walking into." The team descended carefully, their boots crunching on broken glass-like debris. Mara, the engineer, bent down to examine a fragment of the ruins. "This metal, it's not anything we have ever seen," she said, her voice trembling. "It feels almost alive." Her fingers traced the cold surface, and suddenly the metal hummed softly. She pulled back, startled. Elias motioned for everyone to continue. Every step seemed to echo through the empty city. Shadows moved oddly, cast by the fractured buildings. It was as if the ruins themselves were watching. Deeper into the city, the team found a massive gateway. It was tall enough to block out the sky, and its surface was engraved with glowing runes. "This is incredible," whispered Dr. Harlan, the archaeologist. He studied the symbols, which shifted slightly when he looked at them from different angles. "These markings, they are a warning, or maybe a message. I am not sure which." Elias gestured for the team to enter. As they passed under the arch, the air changed. A strange warmth spread around them, and a low vibration hummed beneath their feet. The walls around them flickered with faint lights, like the ruins were remembering the past. The explorers reached a courtyard filled with statues of figures they could not recognize. Each figure was tall, armored, and holding weapons that glimmered faintly. They looked like guardians frozen in time. Mara stepped closer to one and noticed its eyes. They were hollow yet seemed to stare directly at her. She shivered. "Do you feel that?" she asked. "They are looking at us." Elias shook his head. "It's just a trick of the light," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the broken rooftops. From deep within the ruins, a low, mechanical sound began to rise. It was rhythmic, like a heartbeat, growing louder and louder. The team froze. Dr. Harlan whispered, "I think we just woke something up." A panel on the ground slid open, revealing a staircase that led down into darkness. Without waiting, Elias signaled for the team to follow him. They descended, torches in hand, the sound of the heartbeat echoing in their ears. The staircase opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling stretched so high that the tops of the walls disappeared into shadow. In the center stood a massive machine, shaped like a cross between a humanoid figure and a tower of metal. Its surface was etched with glowing symbols, and a faint blue light pulsed from within. The heartbeat was louder now, emanating from the machine itself. Mara stepped forward, her hand reaching toward the glowing core. The moment her fingers touched it, the entire machine came to life. Panels shifted, lights flashed, and the ground vibrated beneath them. The team stumbled back, staring in awe and fear. The machine moved its head, scanning them with eyes that glowed like liquid fire. Then, one by one, other machines in the room began to stir. They were the Guardians, long dormant, now awake after centuries. Their movements were slow, precise, and deliberate. The room filled with a low hum as if the machines were communicating with one another. Elias raised his hand. "Do not make sudden movements. Stay calm." A voice echoed through the chamber. It was soft, metallic, and almost musical. The words were not in any language the team recognized, yet they seemed to carry meaning. Dr. Harlan stepped forward, trying to interpret. "It's greeting us, or warning us," he said. Mara's hand trembled as she looked at the glowing core. "It's alive," she whispered. "All of it is alive." The explorers realized that this city was not just ruins. It was a sleeping world of technology, protected by these guardians. Whatever had happened here had not destroyed the place, but put it into a long, silent watch. Now, after centuries, humans had arrived, and the guardians had awoken. Outside, the wind continued to howl across the empty plains, but inside the chamber, A new presence had come to life, watching, waiting, and perhaps judging the intruders. The fate of the explorers, and perhaps humanity itself, was about to change. The chamber was silent except for the low hum of the awakened guardians. The explorers stood frozen, unsure of what to do next. The machines moved slowly, their massive arms folding and unfolding as if testing the air. Their glowing eyes scanned the humans, analyzing every movement. Elias took a cautious step forward. "We are explorers," he said. "We mean no harm." The guardians did not respond, but the air seemed to shift. A soft vibration ran through the floor, and a faint light traced along the walls. Mara whispered, "They can hear us. Or feel us. Something is responding to our presence." Dr. Harlan studied the nearest guardian, noticing strange symbols pulsing across its armor. "These markings, they are not just decorations. They are instructions, or maybe commands," he said. "The moment we arrived, we triggered something." One guardian lifted a hand, pointing toward the glowing core in the center of the chamber. The team stepped back instinctively. The machine's voice echoed again, low and melodic, and this time it seemed to resonate in their minds rather than their ears. Elias felt a strange pressure in his chest. "It wants us to go there," he said. "Or maybe it wants us to leave. I can't tell." Mara, driven by curiosity, took a step forward. "We can't just stand here," she said. "We need to understand this place." She reached for the glowing core, but before her fingers touched it, the guardian stepped forward. Its movement was fluid, almost human, yet its size made it terrifying. A wave of energy passed through the room, forcing the humans to their knees. The light from the core flared, and suddenly, holograms appeared in the air, projecting images of the city as it once was. The explorers saw alien beings moving through streets filled with machines, buildings that floated, and towers that reached the clouds. Battles were raging in the skies, and the guardians were everywhere, defending the city and its people. Elias watched, unable to tear his eyes away. "This was a city of knowledge and war," he whispered. "They were protectors, not just machines." One of the guardians moved closer to the explorers and extended its hand, palm open. From its core, a beam of soft light reached toward Dr. Harlan. The archaeologist hesitated, then slowly placed his hand in the light. Symbols danced across his skin, leaving a warm, tingling sensation. Knowledge flowed into his mind, memories of the city, the guardian's purpose, and the artifact that powered everything. He gasped. "The artifact, it is the heart of the city. The guardians protect it. They were created to ensure it never falls into the wrong hands." Mara looked at the glowing core again, her curiosity stronger than fear. "If we leave now, we might never understand this," she said. "But if we take the artifact," her voice trailed off as the guardian's eyes glowed brighter, warning her silently. Elias grabbed her arm. "We cannot take it. Not yet. The city chose us to see, not to steal." Suddenly, the walls of the chamber shuddered. Dust and debris fell as the guardians activated other parts of the ruins. Passageways opened, revealing more machines, more guardians awakening from centuries of slumber. The explorers realized the city itself was alive, responding to their presence. Dr. Harlan looked around in awe. "It's a network. Every guardian is connected. Every machine. It's like the city is breathing, watching, waiting for us to act." The tension in the room grew. The guardians began to move in formation, creating a circle around the humans. Elias raised his hands, trying to show peace. "We don't want to fight," he said. But the guardians did not speak. Their actions were deliberate and precise. One of them stepped closer, its glowing eyes locking onto Mara. Then, without warning, it lowered its arm and extended a small, floating cube toward her. The light inside the cube pulsed rhythmically. Mara hesitated, then took the cube. Instantly, visions filled her mind, images of battles, cities destroyed, and civilizations rising and falling. The guardians had given her a gift, or perhaps a warning. She stumbled, overwhelmed, but Elias caught her. "What is it?" he asked. She looked at him, eyes wide. "It shows us what the artifact can do, and what happens if it falls into the wrong hands. We must be careful. Everything here is alive, and it will not forgive mistakes." The explorers realized the truth. the Guardians were not enemies. They were protectors, following rules older than humanity itself. But the city was no longer dormant. Its awareness had grown with the humans' arrival. Every action, every thought, would be observed. They had awakened something powerful, something that demanded respect. The question was whether humanity could survive it. Outside, the wind still howled across the ruins. Inside, the Guardians stood vigilant, their eyes glowing in the dim light. The explorers were trapped between fear and fascination, knowing that the path ahead would test them in ways they had never imagined. The city had awoken, and with it, the Guardians. And humanity was about to step into a world that had waited centuries to see them. The explorers followed the Guardians deeper into the city. Passageways twisted and turned, opening into vast halls filled with strange machines and alien writings. The walls glowed faintly, showing images that seemed alive. Dr. Harlan's eyes widened. This city, it is a library of everything they knew. Every invention, every battle, every discovery is stored here. Mara ran her fingers over a console. Lights flickered, responding to her touch. Symbols floated into the air, forming holographic images of aliens long gone. They moved gracefully, building towering machines and flying ships. They were so advanced, she whispered. We are only scratching the surface of what they could do. Elias kept a careful watch on the Guardians. Their glowing eyes followed the humans, but they did not attack. It was clear the Guardians were observing, judging, and waiting. Remember, Elias said quietly, we are guests here. We need to respect this place or risk angering them. They reached a central chamber. In its center sat the artifact, a glowing crystal floating above a pedestal. Its light was warm and mesmerizing, pulsing like a heartbeat. Dr. Harlan approached slowly, studying it. This is the heart of the city, he said. It powered everything. The Guardians protected it for centuries. It must be incredibly powerful. Mara felt a pull toward the artifact. It's calling me, she said. Her hand shook as she reached out. Elias grabbed her arm. Wait. We don't know what it can do. She hesitated, staring at the floating crystal, but listened to him. Dr. Harlan looked over the artifact's surface. Strange images formed in the air, showing battles, entire planets destroyed, and civilizations rising and falling. It is a weapon, and a key, he said. A tool to create, or to destroy. One of the Guardians stepped forward, its hand raised. The artifact glowed brighter in response. The explorers realized that the Guardians were connected to it. Whatever they did could affect the artifact, and the entire city. Dr. Harlan stepped back, awed. They were created to protect this, not fight with it. They are the keepers of knowledge and war. Suddenly, the chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling as a hidden doorway opened. Holographic images projected scenes of alien leaders arguing, fighting over the artifact. One figure, taller than the rest, held the crystal, and an army of Guardians stood behind. They fought over it, Elias said, voice low. Even their people could not control its power. That is why the Guardians exist, to prevent misuse. Mara's eyes darted to the glowing crystal again. We can learn from it. We can understand their technology, their strength. We can bring it back to humanity. Elias shook his head. Not yet. We are not ready. This is more than a discovery, it's a responsibility. As they studied the holograms, Dr. Harlan noticed a pattern. Look at this, he said, pointing to symbols forming a map. It shows the city's defenses. The Guardians were designed to work with the city itself. The moment the artifact is disturbed, the entire place can react. The ruins are alive. It is like a living fortress. The explorers realized how fragile their position was. One wrong step could trigger a reaction from the Guardians, the artifact, or the city itself. Elias felt a chill. We have to understand it before we touch anything, he said. We are guests here, and this city will not forgive mistakes. The Guardians began moving in a circle around the artifact. Their glowing eyes seemed to follow every human movement. Mara looked at them nervously. They are testing us, she said. They want to see if we are worthy. Elias nodded. We show respect, we observe, we do nothing reckless. That is all we can do. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the artifact and the soft vibration beneath their feet. Then a vision appeared in the air, an alien city under attack by invaders from space. Guardians fought fiercely, humans or aliens trying to steal the artifact. Buildings exploded, ships fell, and the heart of the city pulsed with energy. The explorers understood the stakes. This artifact was not just a treasure. It could change the course of civilizations. Dr. Harlan swallowed hard. If we are not careful, this could be the end of us, or the beginning of something far greater. Mara's fingers hovered over the pedestal. She glanced at Elias, then at the Guardians, then back at the artifact. The pull was strong, but so was the warning in the glowing eyes around them. Elias stepped forward, raising his hands. "We came to learn," he said. "We came to see, not to take. Let us prove we are worthy of this knowledge." The Guardians paused. For a moment, the chamber seemed to breathe, the pulsing light slowing, waiting. Then the Guardians stepped back slightly, forming a protective ring. It was a silent agreement. They would allow the humans to observe, but not interfere. The explorers knew their journey was only beginning. The artifact held answers to ancient knowledge, to power beyond imagination, but it demanded patience, respect, and understanding. Outside, the ruins stretched endlessly. Inside, the Guardians watched, and the city waited. Humanity had found a place older and wiser than themselves. The question was not whether they could survive it, but whether they could learn from it. The explorers moved cautiously through the city, the glowing artifact safe on its pedestal. The Guardians followed silently, their massive forms casting shadows across broken walls and twisted metal. The air was heavy with tension. Every step felt like a test. Mara glanced at Elias. "I still feel its pull," she whispered. "It's calling me again." Elias shook his head. "We have to resist. One wrong move, and the Guardians won't hesitate." Dr. Harlan studied the walls. Holographic images shifted, showing battles and warnings. "They are very protective," he said. "We are not allowed to take the artifact yet, but the city, it seems alive. It reacts to us." Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them. A loud rumble echoed through the ruins. The explorers froze. Dust and small rocks fell from the ceiling. One of the Guardians stepped forward, blocking their path. Its glowing eyes scanned the humans, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. Then a small alarm rang through the ruins. A hidden doorway slammed open on the far side of the chamber. A figure appeared, clad in sleek armor that glinted under the flickering light. The humans froze. It was not a Guardian. It was another being, hostile and determined. The alien raised a weapon, aiming at the explorers. Mara shouted, "Elias, look." Elias raised his hands. "Stay calm. Don't run," he said. But the intruder was fast. It fired, sending a beam of energy that shattered a nearby wall. Dust and debris filled the air. The Guardians reacted instantly. One stepped between the explorers and the attack, its metal arm absorbing the blast. Sparks flew as energy collided with energy. The explorers realized the city was not just protecting the artifact, it was protecting them, too. Elias grabbed Mara and pulled her behind a low wall. "We have to move," he said. "The Guardians will cover us, but we need a plan." Dr. Harlan pointed to a corridor leading deeper into the ruins. "If we reach the inner chamber, we might find a way to communicate with the Guardians, or escape the attacker." The team ran, dodging falling debris and flashes of energy. The Guardian followed, towering above them, its steps precise and steady. The intruder pursued, firing repeatedly. Each blast was deflected by the Guardian's shields. The ruins themselves seemed to shift, doors opening and closing, guiding the explorers along a path, or perhaps testing them further. Mara glanced back and saw the intruder approaching. "They are fast," she yelled. Elias fired his own weapon, hitting a support beam. The beam fell, blocking part of the corridor. The intruder was forced to jump, giving the explorers a few precious seconds. "Keep moving," Elias shouted. They reached a wide chamber filled with glowing machines. Holographic symbols floated in the air, showing star maps, energy grids, and city defenses. Dr. Harlan studied them quickly. "If we can activate this control panel, we might be able to communicate with the Guardians directly. It could stop the attacker. Elias nodded. Do it. Mara ran forward and touched the console. Her fingers traced the glowing symbols. The room hummed as energy flowed through the machines. The Guardians around the chamber moved into formation, their eyes glowing brighter. The intruder hesitated, sensing the shift. For the first time, it paused. The Guardians' combined power created a barrier, and the intruder's weapons failed to penetrate it. A soft, melodic voice echoed in the chamber. It was the same voice the explorers had heard before, now amplified by the city itself. The Guardian's eyes glowed in response. The intruder growled and tried to break through, but the energy from the artifact and the city combined, creating an invisible force that pushed it back. It shrieked and retreated, disappearing into the shadows. The explorers sank to the ground, exhausted. Dust covered their clothes, and their hearts pounded. Elias looked at the Guardians. You saved us, he said quietly. Mara nodded. They're not just machines, she said. They think. They protect. They decide who is allowed to survive. Dr. Harlan touched the glowing artifact from a safe distance. We learned today that this city, it is alive. Every Guardian, every machine, every pulse of energy, it is all connected. And it trusts us, barely. Outside, the wind howled across the ruins, carrying the echo of the battle. Inside, the Guardians returned to their stations around the artifact. The explorers realized the city had tested them. They had survived, but only by respecting the Guardians and relying on their guidance. The artifact pulsed quietly, as if approving their caution. Elias looked at his team. We are not finished, he said. This city has more secrets, more power. And we need to understand it all. But we must be careful. One mistake, one act of greed, and the Guardians will not protect us next time. Mara nodded, her eyes fixed on the glowing machines. We came to explore, she said. But we are learning to survive. That is the first lesson of this city. As they prepared to move deeper, the ruins seemed to shift again, opening new paths and chambers. The explorers realized that the first clash was only the beginning. The city and its Guardians had tested them, and now a greater challenge awaited. Humanity had survived its first confrontation, but the lessons had only just begun. And somewhere in the shadows, other threats were waiting, drawn to the power of the artifact. The explorers caught their breath in the central chamber, still surrounded by the towering Guardians. The artifact pulsed softly, filling the room with a warm light. For a moment, everything was quiet. The intruder had vanished, but Elias knew it would not be the last threat. We need to understand them, he said, looking at the Guardians. They are not enemies, but they will not tolerate mistakes. Dr. Harlan studied the holographic symbols that floated in the air. There is a pattern, he said. A way to communicate. The Guardians respond to intent, not words. If we show respect and caution, they might allow us to work with them. Mara glanced at the artifact again, feeling its pull. But how do we prove ourselves? How do we earn their trust? Elias thought for a moment. We need to demonstrate that we are careful and intelligent. That we can act without greed. Follow the rules of the city, follow the Guardians, and we survive. That is all. The team nodded, understanding the weight of the responsibility. They spent hours studying the chambers, observing the Guardians' movements, and noting the patterns in the holographic symbols. Slowly, a system emerged. Certain gestures, motions, and careful touches activated the Guardians' responses. Dr. Harlan reached out to one of the smaller machines, touching its surface lightly. The Guardian's eyes glowed brighter, and a faint vibration ran through the floor. Mara followed, performing similar gestures. Gradually, the Guardians began to move in unison, forming a protective circle around the explorers. It's working, Dr. Harlan said quietly. They recognize our intentions. They are forming an alliance, not with words, but with trust. Elias nodded. Good. But we cannot be careless. We still don't know the full power of the artifact, or the dangers that lie beyond these ruins. As they prepared to explore deeper chambers, Dr. Harlan noticed something troubling. The artifact is drawing attention, he said. Sensors indicate multiple energy signatures approaching the planet. They are not Guardians. Something, or someone, else is coming. Mara's eyes widened. Enemies? She asked. Elias clenched his jaw. Likely. And they are coming for the artifact. The explorers quickly realized that the city's protective systems were limited. The Guardians could defend them within the ruins, but outside, they were vulnerable. Elias turned to the team. We need a plan. The artifact must remain safe, and we must survive the next attack. We are not alone. Hours passed, and the energy signatures grew closer. Holographic maps showed ships descending from orbit, sleek and armed. Dr. Harlan studied the symbols. They are marauders, he said. They know the artifact exists. They want it for themselves. They do not respect the Guardians or the city. Elias clenched his fists. Then we fight together. Humans and Guardians. The city and its protectors against those who would destroy it. Mara looked at the Guardians, then at the artifact. Do you think they understand us? She asked. Elias nodded. They do. They judge our actions, not our words. If we act with courage and intelligence, they will fight with us. If we act recklessly, we die alone. As the Marauders' ships appeared in the sky, the Guardians moved into defensive positions around the city. Energy shields hummed as the city itself seemed to awaken further. Towers shifted, corridors realigned, and machinery came to life. The explorers realized that the ruins were more than a shelter, they were a fortress. The artifact's power extended through the city, amplifying the Guardians' abilities. Elias led the team to a high vantage point. From there, they could see the Marauders approach. We cannot attack them head-on, he said. We need to use the city to our advantage. The Guardians will protect us if we follow their lead. Trust them. Mara nodded, gripping her weapon tightly. Dr. Harlan studied the control panels, linking the Guardians' movements to the city's defenses. We can guide them, he said. We can help the Guardians fight smarter. The Marauders landed, moving quickly toward the artifact. Beams of energy cut through the ruins, but the Guardians intercepted each attack. Towers rose and shifted, blocking the intruders' path. Machinery activated automatically, creating barriers and traps. Humans and Guardians fought in perfect coordination, each action precise and deliberate. The Marauders had power, but the city's defenses, combined with human ingenuity, were overwhelming. Hours passed in a blur of energy, strategy, and movement. The explorers realized that they were no longer just visitors, they were participants. The Guardians had allowed them to join the defense, recognizing their courage and intelligence. Elias smiled briefly. We are part of this now. Humans can fight alongside the Guardians. Mara's eyes sparkled with excitement. We are learning. We are becoming worthy. The Marauders' attack finally faltered. Their ships retreated, their ground forces defeated or trapped. The artifact pulsed softly, as if acknowledging the humans' efforts. The Guardians returned to their stations, watching the humans with something akin to approval. Dr. Harlan wiped sweat from his brow. We survived, he said. And we learned. This is only the beginning, but today, humanity proved it can fight with wisdom, not just strength. Outside, the ruins were quiet again. The wind swept across broken towers and shattered streets, carrying the echoes of battle. Inside, the artifact glowed steadily, and the Guardians remained vigilant. The explorers had formed a fragile alliance with ancient protectors, combining courage, intelligence, and respect. The next challenges awaited, but humanity had taken its first true step in this city of power. The first rays of the alien sun barely lit the ruins when the Marauders returned. Their ships blotted out the sky, engines roaring as they descended. Elias tightened his grip on his weapon and looked at the Guardians. The massive machines shifted into defensive positions, their glowing eyes scanning for threats. The city itself seemed to awaken, towers rising and walls sliding into new formations. Energy hummed through the air as the artifact pulsed at the center of it all. We fight together, Elias said, voice low but firm. Humans and Guardians. We cannot fail. Mara nodded, her eyes sharp. The artifact, it will guide us, but only if we act wisely. Dr. Harlan studied the holographic displays that appeared in response to the artifact's pulse. We can control part of the city's defenses, he said. We must coordinate with the Guardians. Timing is everything. The Marauders struck first. Energy beams cut through the ruins, tearing apart broken towers and sending debris flying. Guards and machines moved in perfect synchrony, intercepting attacks and shielding the explorers. Elias shouted orders to his team, directing Guardians to block pathways and lead the humans to safer positions. Mara's quick thinking diverted a falling beam away from the artifact, and Dr. Harlan activated a series of defensive traps that sent the Marauders scrambling. The battle was intense. Marauders were skilled and relentless, but the Guardians' precision and strength proved overwhelming. One massive Guardian stepped forward, absorbing a barrage of energy blasts meant for the humans. Sparks flew from its armor, and yet it stood firm, towering like a living fortress. "It's incredible," Mara shouted, dodging debris. "They are not just machines, they are alive." Dr. Harlan's fingers flew across the holographic controls. He guided smaller Guardians to flank the attackers, opening hidden corridors and activating energy barriers. Elias led his team in coordinated strikes, using the environment to their advantage. Every move was calculated, every action precise. The Marauders realized too late that they were trapped in a city that fought as one. The sky darkened as more ships arrived, dropping reinforcements. The artifact pulsed brighter, sending waves of energy through the Guardians. Towers shifted into defensive positions, and walls moved to funnel the invaders into kill zones. Explosions rocked the ruins, but the humans stayed calm, trusting the Guardians' judgment. Amid the chaos, one Marauder managed to reach the artifact. Its energy weapon glowed dangerously. Mara lunged forward, grabbing a control panel and activating a defensive pulse. The weapon's beam was deflected back, knocking the Marauder off balance. A Guardian stepped in, lifting the intruder effortlessly and tossing it aside. The humans cheered, but Elias reminded them, "Stay focused. There are more coming." Hours passed, but the combined force of humans and Guardians slowly pushed the Marauders back. The intruders' formations collapsed, their ships were damaged, and their ground forces scattered. The artifact's light pulsed steadily, as if approving the humans' courage and discipline. The Guardians moved back into their stations, remaining vigilant. The battle finally ended with the Marauders' retreat. Smoke and debris filled the air, but the city and its Guardians remained intact. Elias surveyed the scene. "We did it," he said quietly. "We survived, together." Mara looked at the Guardians, their massive forms still glowing softly. "They trusted us," she said. "They let us fight alongside them. We earned it." Dr. Harlan stepped closer to the artifact, studying its steady pulse. "Today was a lesson," he said. "This city is alive, the Guardians are alive, and we have shown that humanity can fight with intelligence and respect, not just strength. That is why we survived." Elias nodded. "But the Marauders will return. There are greater threats out there, drawn to this power. We must be ready." The explorers took a moment to rest, realizing the city had tested them and they had passed. Outside, the wind swept across the ruins, carrying the distant echoes of battle. Inside, the Guardians remained vigilant, their eyes glowing softly, watching the humans with something that resembled approval. The artifact pulsed at the center, its light steady, as if acknowledging the fragile alliance that had formed. Mara glanced at Elias. "We learned today that humans can fight beside giants," she said. "That we can survive not just through weapons, but through courage, intelligence, and respect." Elias nodded, looking at the Guardians. "And this is only the beginning. The city holds more secrets, more challenges, and more knowledge. We are not just visitors here, we are partners, for now." The ruins were quiet once more, but the explorers knew the calm would not last. Beyond the horizon, new threats were waiting, drawn by the artifact's power. But for the first time, humans had proven themselves worthy allies of the Guardians. They had survived the siege, earned the Guardians' trust, and learned the first lesson of this ancient city: strength alone is not enough. Respect, intelligence, and courage are the keys to survival. The ruins were quiet after the battle. Smoke drifted through the broken towers, and the sunlight reflected off the scattered metal. The artifact pulsed steadily, its light gentle but commanding. The explorers walked slowly toward it, guarded by the towering Guardians. Every step felt heavy with the weight of what they had just survived. Dr. Harlan knelt near the pedestal, examining the glowing crystal. "We've only seen a fraction of its power," he said. "It is more than energy, more than technology. It can shape worlds, change life, and destroy if misused." Mara reached out, her hand trembling. "Can humans even control something like this?" she asked. Elias shook his head. "We may not be able to, not yet. But the city seems to think we can learn. That is why the Guardians allowed us here." As they studied the artifact, holographic images filled the chamber. They showed planets being reshaped, ecosystems created and destroyed, civilizations rising and falling. Mara gasped. "It can create life, and destroy it." Elias frowned. "That is why it is dangerous. Whoever controls it can decide the fate of entire worlds." One of the Guardians moved closer, extending a glowing arm toward Elias. A soft, musical voice echoed in the chamber, but it was different this time. It was deliberate, patient, almost teaching. Symbols and images flowed into Elias' mind, visions of responsibility, of balance, of choices. He saw the consequences of using the artifact for greed or power. Planets burned, civilizations fell, all because someone sought to take more than they could handle. Dr. Harlan stepped closer. "It chooses carefully," he said. "It doesn't just give power. It tests the wielder's intent. Humans must prove wisdom, patience, and respect." Mara swallowed hard. "And if we fail?" she asked quietly. Elias' gaze hardened. "Then it could destroy us, or worse. That is why the Guardians exist. To guide, to protect, and to judge." Suddenly, the artifact pulsed brighter. A beam of light connected the crystal to the Guardians, forming a web of energy that stretched through the chamber. The explorers felt it in their bones, a connection, a bond. They understood something fundamental. The artifact was alive, the Guardians were alive, and the city itself was alive. Together, they formed a single consciousness, testing the humans' worthiness. Mara's hand hovered over the artifact. She could feel its pull, the promise of knowledge and power. Elias grabbed her arm gently. "Do not rush," he said. "This is not a tool for humans. It is a responsibility. We must understand before we act." She nodded, resisting the temptation. Holographic images shifted again. A vision of the marauders appeared, showing them preparing new attacks, unaware of the artifact's true power. "They will return," Dr. Harlan said grimly. "And they do not care about respect, caution, or wisdom. They only want power." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we must be ready. We have the Guardians, the city, and each other. But we must act wisely." One of the Guardians extended its arm toward Mara, guiding her hand over the surface of the artifact. Symbols glowed under her touch, forming patterns that aligned with her thoughts and intentions. She felt understanding flow into her mind. The artifact revealed secrets of energy manipulation, technology, and the ancient knowledge of the city. It tested her, not with force, but with insight. Could humans handle this responsibility? Could they act without greed or fear? Elias watched, feeling a surge of hope. "We are learning," he said. "We are proving ourselves. But this is only the beginning. The artifact's power is immense, and the city will continue to test us." Dr. Harlan nodded. "It will not tolerate mistakes. One act of selfishness, one reckless move, and all could be lost." The chamber pulsed again. Outside, the ruins seemed to shift subtly, as if reacting to the artifact's energy. The Guardians formed a protective ring, glowing brighter than ever. The explorers realized that the city, the artifact, and the Guardians were not just tools, they were teachers. And the lesson was clear: power without wisdom is destruction. Responsibility is more important than victory. Mara stepped back, breathing heavily. "We can survive this, if we learn quickly," she said. Elias nodded. "And we must. The marauders will return. Other dangers will come. But now we know what is at stake, and what we must protect." The artifact pulsed one last time, softly, like a heartbeat. The Guardians remained vigilant, their eyes glowing steadily. The explorers knew the truth: humanity had been tested, and had begun to prove itself. But the greatest challenges were still ahead. The artifact's power was vast, and the city's lessons had only just begun. What humans chose to do next would determine not just their survival, but the fate of worlds. The ruins were alive with energy. The artifact pulsed at the center, its light stretching through the halls and towers, connecting every guardian, every machine, every pulse of the city. Elias, Mara, and Dr. Harlan stood together, knowing the final challenge had arrived. Outside, ships appeared in the sky, new marauders, faster, stronger, and more determined than before. Elias drew a deep breath. This is it. Everything we've learned, everything we've survived, comes down to this moment. Mara nodded, gripping her weapon. We know the city. We know the Guardians. We know the artifact. Let's finish this. Dr. Harlan studied the holographic panels one last time. We must act wisely. The artifact's power can turn the tide, but misuse it and we all die. The marauders landed, charging through broken streets toward the heart of the city. Beams of energy cut through debris, but the Guardians moved instantly, forming protective barriers and strategic formations. Elias led the humans through shifting corridors, using the city's defenses as cover. Every step was coordinated with the Guardians, every move precise. Mara spotted a marauder attempting to bypass a Guardian and reach the artifact. Elias, there, she shouted. Elias nodded and fired, disabling the attacker's weapon. Another Guardian stepped forward, lifting the marauder effortlessly and throwing it aside. The humans and Guardians were a perfect team, strategy, speed, and intelligence combined. Dr. Harlan activated the control panels connected to the artifact. Energy pulsed through the city, opening hidden defenses, activating traps, and creating walls that funneled the marauders into choke points. Ships crashed against energy barriers, and ground forces were caught in mazes of shifting walls and beams. The city itself seemed to fight, as if alive, as if it understood the humans' intentions and was willing to act with them. Amid the chaos, a marauder reached the pedestal. Its weapon glowed dangerously. Mara leaped forward, her hands touching the surface of the artifact. Energy surged through her, not harming her, but linking her thoughts to the artifact's power. She felt the pulse of the city, the Guardian's strength, and the artifact's potential. With careful control, she redirected a wave of energy toward the invaders, stopping them without harming the city. Elias watched, awed. She's channeling it, using it wisely. Dr. Harlan nodded. That is the test. Control without greed, power with responsibility. She is proving humanity can handle this. The marauders regrouped, desperate and reckless. Their ships fired all at once, aiming to destroy the artifact. Guardians moved instantly, absorbing the attacks and shielding the humans. The city's energy pulsed, creating walls of light, traps, and counterattacks that overwhelmed the intruders. Explosions lit the skies, but the ruins stood firm, guided by the artifact and the humans who had learned to respect it. Slowly, the marauders' forces crumbled. Their ships retreated, their ground units defeated or trapped. The artifact pulsed softly, like a heartbeat of approval. The Guardians returned to their stations, their eyes glowing steadily. The humans had survived, but more importantly, they had proven their worthiness. Elias stepped forward, looking at Mara and Dr. Harlan. We did it, he said quietly. Not just by fighting, but by learning, by respecting, by thinking. Mara smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. We survived because we understood, not because we were stronger. Dr. Harlan nodded. And that is why humanity can stand among Guardians, among ruins, and even against the greatest threats. We can endure, adapt, and rise. The artifact's light spread through the chamber, bathing everything in a warm glow. Outside, the ruins settled, calm once more. The wind swept across broken towers and streets, carrying the echoes of the battle. The explorers knew the city had tested them to the limit, but they had passed. The Guardians, alive and vigilant, remained by the artifact, ready to defend it again, but also silently acknowledging the humans' courage and wisdom. Elias looked at the horizon, where distant planets glimmered in the alien sky. This city, the Guardians, the artifact, they are more than what we can understand fully. But we have learned enough to survive, enough to protect, enough to rise. Mara nodded. And we will. Humans will rise, not just to take, but to endure, to grow, and to fight with honor. The ruins pulsed one last time, softly, as if the city itself was breathing. The artifact glowed steadily, a beacon of knowledge and power. The Guardians remained watchful, but their judgment was clear: humanity had earned its place, at least for now. The explorers had stepped into a world older and wiser than themselves, and they had proven that humans could rise to meet it. And somewhere, deep within the city, a new pulse echoed, subtle, distant, promising that the story of humans and Guardians was far from over.